Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Leadership Speak series of L Forum. Today, I have the privilege and joy of welcoming a very close friend who is an entrepreneurial leader with a twist. Welcome to the show, Jane Guyette.
Thank you, Ringo, for having me.
My pleasure, Jane, and I think you will be the only person who will do justice in describing what you do and your journey. So, I'm sure all our audiences would love to hear your story and your journey. So, over to you.
So, my background is in what I call the medical arts industry, both on the Western side and most recently in the holistic therapies. And I've been doing that ever since graduating from college, actually in college, being in Western medicine, working as an administrator, working really moving up the chain. Or moving up the chain in the organization very, very quickly, to the point where it just didn't feel right, and I didn't like where Western medicine was going in managed care, and had some of my personal healing issues go on in my body that I had to self heal because there was nothing out there to rely on. Then, which kind of moved me into and transitioned me into holistic therapies. So, my work with my company, Bhumi Health, right now is in transpersonal energy healing. I've done a lot in the last 20, 25 years getting to that point. But essentially, I've gotten to the point where I assist people to release their unhealthy behaviors through a self realization method of clearing past traumatic events. So I am an empowerment coach. I am a spiritual coach if that's what they need. I am there to give them hope. So Bhumi Health is really about hope, their hope of the future and being the best possible person they can be.
Awesome. That I'm sure a lot of our audiences would love to hear more and who knows, might want to even speak with you. So how did this whole journey happen and your whole journey of starting Bhumi Health? And I'm sure we'll all be very keen to hear that story, Jay.
Yeah, so I've had several different careers. I actually was a professional dancer. At the same time, I was going to college, and at the same time, I was working at a leading university in San Francisco. And so I was doing a lot. You're young, you can do a lot. And, I kind of, my body was stressed out a little bit after 10 years of dancing pretty heavily and working a full-time job, and it was starting to show wear and tear, and so I ended up with 2 herniated discs and I refused surgery. So I had to start looking into healing arts, started doing Pilates, became a Pilates instructor, and then that's when the real work started in not only healing myself but also working with other people. So I had this really wonderful one-on-one relationship with people, and really I started learning how people how they tick, I guess, and it opened up just this whole world of self-healing, self-awareness. Did a lot of I did personal development seminars. I was working on myself at the same time, and I think what it was is that the more I worked on myself and the more I found answers, the more I wanted to share, and so that would take me into the next healing art that I would have. So I ended up leaving Western medicine, and I had a really great job, but I had opportunities to move on, and I just wanted to share the work, and I wanted to see with this particular title of leadership, I wanted to see leaders and people that wanted to be leaders, how they could be more effective, and I wanted them to help clear any of those blocks that they might have to their own progression of leadership. So I was Pilates instructor, massage therapist. I understood then. I started learning how the strength of touch. I started learning how the strength of your words. And this one is really interesting, a turn that I would have never guessed, but I became a colon hydrotherapist in my own personal healing, and I was doing cleanses and all kinds of things. I had a person ask me to come on, and I said, well, that was never in the cards. That's interesting. But I'll tell you, it was the best job I had ever had, because I worked on such an intimate level with people. And I had such a trust of my clients that they let me in. I mean, they let me in wholly and freely. When I say let me into their personal lives, let me into, their deepest, darkest things that they needed to release, literally and figuratively, and it again was the best job I ever had, because I was able to understand how we as human beings exchange energy at a very intimate level. I learned um, or experienced through the client of things that I had never experienced before. I was stepping into their shoes every single day. I became more compassionate, more alive, and even got into like nutritional therapy and talking about nutrition, but then realizing that people were getting stuck. They were getting themselves stuck. And how was I going to get beyond that psychological point of, yeah, we can put everybody on a diet and they might last for about 7 days, but then they're going to go off of it because they're triggered by some event or some habit that they just can't break, which has then led me into the transpersonal energy healing. And I was starting to experience through my clients, and especially through group work, experience how when one person transforms, the entire group then would transform right behind them. And I didn't have to do anything. All I had to do was be there, ask a couple questions, and when the emotion they were fighting with, or the event they were fighting with in their life, came conscious, then a light bulb went off, and once they addressed that issue that they didn't even know it was there, then the whole group addressed the exact same issue. It was like, wait a minute, I have that too. Oh, I experienced that too. So there was this just evolution that happened in my own work, and then starting to share that with other people and sharing it in groups. So it was kind of, I would say, really a spiritual transformation for myself, but also for all of my clients.
Wonderful. I mean, a lot of that was for the average Joe would be pretty intriguing, because you want to know, because you were talking about things which everyone's trying to solve, trying to find calm, tranquility, balance. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of people wanting to know what Jane does more, I'm sure.
Well, and
And
it's the ease of it. So one of the things that I always said, and what I would put out there would be my intention, is that, okay, I need to make this easier. How is this easier? And all I had to do, I just voiced it, and I put it out there, or I would write in a notebook, things that I wanted, and I just put it away. And I've said, hey, I just want it to be easier. I need to find a way. And then that it would show up. The easier way would show up, to the point now where I would run people through a full week cleanse program that was pretty intense, and everybody stuck with it. I had a 98% completion rate for the entire week, which was absolutely amazing because I was so hands-on. And but afterwards, and I hope they would take like one thing they would learn and incorporate it in their life, and they probably did. But they wouldn't be able to incorporate everything. It was just too much in a week. So then I thought, well, how can I make this, instead of going through, a whole week of transformation, how can I do this quicker? And then the answers started appearing, to the point where I can actually be in a session with somebody and it'll take us 30 minutes to go through the exact same transformation.
wow, I
So
mean,
how can I not share that?
so Jane, How was your evolution in this unique realm or unique space as a leader? What was your learning and how did you evolve? Like, yes, you are a leader. You lead your teams, your customers, your clients into the next realm or to something which is they are seeking to do. So I'm sure your leadership lessons are very different from the average corporate leadership lessons. So please share with us what has been your learnings.
Hmm, probably not. um, leadership is, for me, I had to experience it myself. I had to learn from it and then teach what I learned. It's one thing in going out and being a leader and, being a textbook leader and, teaching something that you read. It's another thing to teach something that you've actually experienced as true. And the other thing of being a leader, it's trying to first, before you even teach, before you even say anything, is to have a relationship and have there has to be a sense of trust between people. And that was the one thing that worked really, really well with me and my clients, and to this day works with me and my clients because we're just real. And it's like, who are you? Who is the person that's coming in? I think I have a very relaxed stance, with people. I'm not super formal. That's not who I am. I'm very honest, and that probably comes through. Maybe too honest to a fault, but very honest. And I think people felt comfortable. And I had rules. So, and not necessarily rules, but expectations. And I think they can be interchangeable because I think when it's like when you have a child, right? And your child, you either you put 5 breakfast choices out on the table and you have them choose, right? And they're going to get all confused and they're going to want a little bit of everything, right? Or you give them a choice, right? And they're not, and they don't have to think very much. Okay, here's my breakfast. I'm going to take that. That's safe to me, and I'm going to eat that, and I don't have to spend a lot of brain time figuring out, what's the best choice. Is mom going to let me have that, pancake with lots of syrup, and, whatever else, is on that, pancake? Or should I go with the healthier one? Maybe I should have, that egg or that smoothie, and so I was taking out the guesswork from the moment they come in the door. Like, this is the basic expectations. This is what I expect in our professional relationship, right? And this is what you can expect from me. So that way it took a lot of the questions off the table because I had worked with people for so long, I could actually refine those expectations because I think it's okay to have rules. I think it's okay to, like in businesses, when, or if you sign up for an application and you have to agree to everything, those, right? Those are the basic rules. And don't be afraid of putting that out there. Because they're just basic expectations. And I think it's more expectations than rules. Rules can be a little bit, harsh, and then people will fight back at them, right? They'll pull back. But especially like with the colon hydrotherapy business, a lot of those people were first time people in my office. So there was fear, right? There was, do I even come in this office? This is really, seems a little invasive, right? And I had one great example of a woman. She was my first client. I'd never met her. I'm coming in the parking lots early in the morning. There's nobody around. And I'm walking in the building and I see this woman pacing back and forth. And all I did was smile. I just gave her a smile, said good morning, and then I went inside and opened up the business. And then she was actually my first client and I didn't know it. And she said to me, had you not smiled, I don't think I would have walked in the door. So it's something as simple as that.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. sometimes common sense, but sometimes we seem to overlook these simple things, right?
Yeah, you've got to have a relationship first. How is somebody going to trust you?
Excellent. Yeah.
How is someone going to trust your expertise? Um, and I think part of that is that, do you trust yourself? And do you have the confidence? Um, do you know what you're doing? Do you have the confidence? You probably know what you're doing. To all those who are listening to this, you have expertise, but you have to believe in it. It's one thing to know it, it's another thing to believe in it. And then there's a sense of peace in knowing that, they're either the person that's coming in the door is either going to take it or leave it, right? It's going to either work for them or it's not going to work for them. And then, and also, what you're looking at in the business world, which I've also worked, is your team trusting you? Do
Yep.
they agree with what's happening in the organization? Do you feel supported by your team? Are you supporting your team? So, leadership is just, it's really how you're being and how you're showing up. And, and,
Excellent.
and are you empowering? Empowerment is big. I think that's probably the key. You've got to empower people, whether or not they're your client or they're your employee or they're your boss, whoever it is in your life, your children.
So, Jane, in my next question, in this journey, you've been entrepreneurial for a while now. Has the journey been any different as an entrepreneur and a leader? Did you have to balance anything? What was your learning there?
Did I have to balance? Probably the biggest thing was probably my personal life, balancing my personal life. When I get into a project, I really get into it because I really love it. And really figuring out when to take a break. And this, I think I matured on over time, is that I spent more and more time planning for my day, meditating. I even if it's 5 minutes to just ground, so do some kind of grounding activity just to get grounded. And I had to do that one in my profession because I was dealing with a lot of one-on-one and a lot of emotion, and I didn't want to take that on, and get too mixed into their energy. That's for a whole nother conversation. So there was a lot of, I guess that was the balancing, was really the grounding and making sure that I didn't take on the story. And I think we as human beings do that. I think we get emotionally, if you're getting involved when somebody else's emotion triggers your emotion, and then you get wrapped up in it like office gossip, and then oh, okay, that's probably not good behavior, right? And those are the kinds of things that you start catching yourself doing, and getting involved in that instead of spending time on your work or what your goals are, or what's your purpose, what's your ultimate goal. So just that's what I would look at as far as the balance, and advice to anybody out there is really look at how you're being in the workplace when you're not working.
Great. In this journey, what have been your biggest challenges, Jane?
Biggest challenges. My biggest challenges has probably been asking for money. To be honest, I'll be honest. Setting my price schedule. That has been my biggest challenge because I am such a giver. I will give everything away.
Yeah.
You know?
That can be tough when you're running an entrepreneurial setup, right?
Exactly. So it's been a challenge. I've gotten better at it, just because I've worked for nonprofits in my early career. So I wasn't in the private sector. So I never had that learning part of it in being a private sector when I started as an entrepreneur. So I had to kind of learn that over time, because I just want to give everything away for free. And I wish I could, but there are expenses. There's office and internet expenses, and that kind of thing. Putting food on the table. But yeah, so I think that's probably my biggest challenge, is because I give so much. And also because I give so much, and one of the learning things is that I had to remember to recharge myself. And part of recharging myself is receiving. So I had to learn how to receive more. And I think too with leaders is that leaders want to give and direct and direct and direct and direct, but they also have to be directed. They have to take the cues on when to step back a minute and just listen and not react.
That is very unique because that's almost like a first. He said, "I'm not taking enough. I don't even put a price on what I'm doing, right?" And funnily, it's
Yeah.
probably a latent problem with a lot of folks, a lot of entrepreneurs. They don't know how to demand their price, and they're
Uh-huh.
bashful. And
Hmm.
in some cases, they're bashful. In some cases, they feel just don't feel like asking. And that probably is a good lesson that hey, you need to ask for your price because you are putting in honest work. So
Well,
it's a
yeah, and you've
great
got you've got
great
to pay
great
the
takeaway.
bills. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just had a conversation yesterday actually with a contractor that I was bringing into my home, and he asked to reschedule my event because one of his big customers that was in my area, because I don't live in a big metropolitan area, so I don't live, I'm out in the country, so it's hard to get contractors. So they come to work at my house when they're working somewhere else. So his job canceled. And he said, with the gas prices, all of that, he goes, it just doesn't make sense. Can I reschedule? I said, absolutely. And he went off about, how all the higher expenses are now. And I said, look, I said, you're not going to get art from me. I totally get it. You've got to charge what you're worth. And now, I'm the one getting paid for this bill, right? But it was just, again, sharing with somebody else something that I had learned is that you've got to make yourself whole. You've got to earn a living yourself. So don't be afraid. And I know there's other people that are going, I know I don't have that problem. And that's great. And I say, more power to you.
Good for you.
Let's
Yeah.
team up. You'll teach me.
Exactly. So which kind of is a good segue to my last question in our discussion today, Jane. What is your advice to young leaders, entrepreneurs, and people in general? What would be your advice to them based on your learnings?
So it's a lot of work, right? So, and we know that. And if you're not afraid of hard work, it'll be fine. But the biggest thing is that if your end result doesn't make you happy, you're probably not going to be really motivated to get to the finish line. I personally I'm very task oriented. Um, um, I like finishing things. Um, I like, and finishing things can be finishing like what your end goal is. There's never an end goal, right? In entrepreneurship, but there's also baby steps in finishing things. So if like me, you like to finish something, just pick a task and finish it to get to your goal. But it's your end goal. For me, it was having online seminars when I was doing online cleansing seminars, and I was in total bliss when I was actually finally teaching that class. It was really hard setting up that classroom, doing the marketing, doing all that online stuff. There's a lot of pieces involved. and I was doing a lot when I first started, right? I was everything, right? I was the accountant, I was the programmer, I was the marketing person, I'm the teacher, I'm everything. And it was a lot of work, but it was just when you get to that end result and you're like, you've got to sit and enjoy it. You got to go, this is great. And this is my purpose. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to transform lives. And that's what I was doing. And as long as I was getting that result, I can do anything. It didn't matter how much work.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Jane, for your words of wisdom and a very unique take on leadership, entrepreneurship. It's very unique. So I thank you, and
Thank
I
you.
wish you and Bhumi Health all the very best and all the success. And hopefully, you are more forceful in asking for your price in the future.
Oh,
And
I am now.
excellent, excellent. I'm very happy to hear that. Hopefully, we'll bring you on again, maybe when we have more discussions of a similar nature. So, thank you for your time, and I
Thank
wish
you.
you all the very best.